Kris Van Cleave joins me now from the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. I just got a word. Kris, I want to hear it one more time before I say it out loud. Confirm that for me, control room. What would you do? What? Okay. So I'm being told, ladies and gentlemen, that there is an issue related to the rocket, which might mean the propulsion system, loading, fuel, a lot of different variables, and they are reviewing that. So we're in a standby mechanism in terms of whether or not this will be go for launch, but something is being evaluated. Kris, I just wanted to catch you up on that. You may or may not have any information on your end, but that is just what I've been notified with here. If you have anything, please share it.
Yeah, Major, it looks like they are evaluating an issue with the rocket's flight termination system, which is a safety system used to send a self-destruct signal to the rocket in the event it veers off path. This is a required system for launch. So as they are troubleshooting that, they've gone to a no-go for launch status here. As we've heard Mark say, so much of this mission is a test flight that they're checking everything. And in mission control here in Houston at the Johnson Space Center, they have been going through every system, making sure things are green and good to go. And this is clearly a situation where either mission control or launch control saw something that they didn't like with the flight termination system. And that's enough to put us into a no-go situation here. Our reporting is that they have asked the launch team for assistance to help verify the troubleshooting that they're trying to do to resolve this problem. And as that work is going, that will help determine our next steps forward.
Exactly. And Kris, so I want
to mission control.
Yeah, let me jump in, Kris.
Yeah,
our audience can see the countdown clock continuing. Terminology is familiar to those in NASA. It is not necessarily familiar to a layman like me. No-go does not mean a scrubbing of the launch. What it means is things are being evaluated. And there is a hope, as we have just been communicated to by NASA, that this can be resolved in time for an on-schedule launch. No-go does not mean it's been scrubbed, but it does mean, as Kris Van Cleave just so helpfully explained, something is being evaluated that raised a flag that is not just technologically linked, but also safety linked. They want to make sure they run this to ground before they move to the next steps.
That's right, Major. Certainly the hope is that this is a quick fix and that they'll be able to continue with the plan, and they're going to continue counting down here as the intention is to see everything go to green to be good to fly here today. But obviously they got to resolve this issue and continue to go through their checklists before they launch.
And Kris, while we still await more word from NASA about where we are and where we're heading the next few minutes, talk to the audience about your experience in that simulator. That had to be pretty cool. It looked cool, and that gave you a sense of what the crew will be doing minute by minute.
Yeah, it was cool, Major. We got to spend a day in that simulator and time in the training mock-up, the capsule that they trained in, so you really get a sense for just how tight that space is. It's about the size of 2 minivans that's going to house 4 people for nearly 10 days. So it is a very small space, and compared to what you might see on the flight deck of an airplane, remarkably simple. A number of controls and panels there, considering what this vessel is going to do when it gets into space. So much of what the rocket does is remotely controlled. So the pilots are really, in many ways, spend a lot of their time as sort of mission managers as opposed to hand-on-stick flying. They'll only do a little bit of that during this mission. But it really allowed us to get a sense, one, for the space, and two, what to expect. And what they have been focused on is they have been training for this mission for years. That it's the first time that anyone will hands-on fly this capsule in space, but they've been flying it in a simulator for quite some time. They feel very ready to perform the maneuvers they're going to do once they get up into orbit.
Kris, I want to reset the clock because we have people who are coming into this coverage on an ongoing basis, and something has just happened, and you so helpfully explained it a moment ago for the benefit of the audience who just might be tuning in, who heard something, saw something on a phone. restate why we're in a no-go situation and what they're trying to evaluate.
Yeah, so NASA's determined there is an issue with a system that's called the Flight Termination System, and that is a safety system that would be used to send a self-destruct message to the rocket if it were to veer off course. It's one of those things that's required for launch. Now, this means a no-go for launch. That doesn't mean the launch has been scrubbed. They are actively trying to troubleshoot this issue right now with the hopes that it can be resolved and the mission can continue as planned today. That work is ongoing right now, Major.
It's a complex system with many complexities and tests carried throughout. Mark Strassmann, I believe, has joined us also. Mark, if you're there, give me like I said before, you're deeply experienced in space travel and the work that goes into it. Help our audience understand what's playing out in the moments that we've just seen Kris Van Cleave so helpfully describe. Mark, can you hear me? Mark Strassmann, I don't believe, can hear me. So let's bring Kris Van Cleave back if we can be so adept.
I can hear you, Major.
Yes, good. Kris, you can hear me. So there's a shot right now on the NASA feed. Help me, if you can see that, Kris. That's mission control, is it not?
Yep.
Okay. So they're looking up at the screen.
That's right. You're looking at the...
Go ahead.
Yes. No, I was going to say the position that you can see most prominently, that Capcom, that would be the position where somebody would communicate with the astronauts on board. They are, of course, looking at a wall of screens. Think of this as like a command center at mission control as they are trying to run down this issue. You have people from basically every aspect of this mission in that one room to talk through what needs to get done to try to get this system resolved and continuing to move towards a successful launch.
Very good. Anything you want to add, Kris, about your experience with the simulator and what you learned about what the crew will be experiencing on this mission?
You know, so much of this mission is to see how everything works and does everything perform as it was intended when it was designed, or as the many, many computer models and simulations that have been run, does it work as they think it will? So every step of this mission is really about proving out that the capsule works the way they want it to, so when it comes time to try to land on the moon, everything goes right. You know, they're gonna check the maneuvering. They're gonna check even down to the life support systems and the bathroom. Does all of this stuff work the way it should? Because people have never flown in space in this capsule. And just the amount of work, the number of things that have to go right just to get to this point. You know, it's millions and millions of little decisions and steps and years of training just to get to the point where you get to count down to maybe launch.
Great stuff as always. Kris Van Cleave, thank you for rolling with this developing story as it came to us. Your email feed, the control room, my ear. Great stuff as always. Mark Strassmann is with us now. I mentioned that Artemis II is a complex system. Not nearly as complex, but sometimes it has inherent complexities. Live television. Mark, I believe you can hear me now. I hope we can hear you. Help our audience understand where we are with this no-go that's not a scrub.
Yeah, well, everything was looking so great, Major, until this just popped up about 10 minutes ago. Essentially, I can see the countdown clock is still ticking, but we are a no-go for launch until we fix this technical issue. So imagine that the rocket lifts off, and and suddenly there's a problem. Maybe it's heading towards me, and you've got to do something about that. In theory, you fling the capsule away, right, the abort system, but you still got to do something with a rocket. So there's something called a flight termination system. And as it was just explained to me by a couple of astronauts in our building, essentially you send a charge out the sides open up, the rocket loses propulsion, and you in theory at least, would avert the threat. And right now, that system is not working for some reason. They've got to figure out why that is. Is it a part? Is it a faulty piece of wiring? But something isn't communicating with something else. And until they get that resolved, we are, at this moment, a no-go for launch just when everything had been picture perfect until the last 10 minutes. So, Major, that's the latest that we have heard here at Kennedy Space Center.
Mark Strassmann, thank you very, very much.